keep it the same. They don't want to show anything. They have some innovative comps for sure that they're going to probably pull out in the quarterfinals.
Yeah.
Definitely the semifinals and finals, I would assume. But Vox, Petal, Catherine, Lyra, you know, these are all Rona. These are all heroes they actually played a lot of. You know, Joseph played a lot of Blackfeather as well in jungle. So you're going to probably see them stick to mostly the meta hero and just play that meta really well. And then when they face a team that will pressure them and potentially could beat them, then they'll pull out their trump cards. And those teams are like Ace Gaming, TSM, etc.
I mean, you're mentioning the picks that Cloud9 can play, the picks that they excel at. The thing is about Cloud9 is they have been a team for such a long time. They've played in so many metas that there are very few picks that you see it and you go, oh, Cloud9 can't play that. That's not something that happens all too often. There are some exceptions to that rule. I can see you disagreeing with me on that one, but definitely a team that is an incredibly storied
I do
team.
get your point there in that they can play many different things, but at the same time, when they usually hone in on one meta, you don't see them being as diverse as they could be. I mean, going back to the autumn season, when in 2.9, their strongest picks weren't working for them, they just had such a downfall in North America. So it's a team that relies on their comfort picks at the same time.
Absolutely, it's time to get on into this series. Lyra the first ban, Churnwalker the answer from Cloud9, and Elite8 will lock in Blackfeather as the first pick of this draft.
Yeah, well, Blackfeather being picked, Rona or Vox will make a lot of sense here. And potentially they'll probably ban a captain or and take the other stronger pick. So for example, Arden is still up. So that potentially could ban a L'Oreal or a Lorelei or a Koshka, for example. So let's see what comes out here.
I do expect the Lorelei ban just so that they don't have to deal with it with the Blackfeather, and then pick the Arden on the next rotation. It's something that Gabe's played in the past many times, so you're not showing anything. That's the idea for C9 here, is that they don't...
Rona.
Wow. So they're afraid of the Rona Blackfeather composition that we saw earlier. But quickly, Cloud9, they're trying to not show as much as they can, or hide as much as they can, so that later on in the competition, they still have pocket picks available.
Yeah, and look at the faces on Cloud9 right now. You can see them grinning ear to ear. They're definitely confident coming into this game, throwing a bit of banter around and having a bit of fun while they draft up a composition for themselves.
And if you're wondering who's that person in the middle holding the iPad drafting for Cloud9, that's the new coach that we talked about. Pepe is the coach that they added to the team back in autumn season towards the end of it, that their performance improved so much once he started helping the team. So very, very a proud coach as well, and one that the team trusts very well.
Yeah, so Catherine actually was what they played against Pain Gaming. They played Vox, Petal, Catherine, and played it really well. Oh, Koshka is picked up. So typical, they could end this with like a Fortress pick, for example, and that's a very strong, early aggressive comp that Cloud9 excelled at in the previous metas.
Yeah, and again, it's something that everyone knows Cloud9 plays, and everyone knows that they play well. This is not showing anything new, you know, by putting I Love Joseph on a Koshka. That's one of his signature heroes. So definitely just sticking to those comfort picks, not revealing anything, not showing off any of their trump cards.
The only thing the only new thing they'll be showing off is the Pet Walker Vox skin,
Oh,
perhaps.
our
It's our first Lorelei.
Yes,
Finally.
Lorelei coming on through. We've seen it banned a lot. We're finally going to see it locked in alongside a Baron and a Blackfeather. There's a lot of damage on that roster right there.
Yeah, that's a lot of damage and a lot of utility to come out through as well. You both Baron and Blackfeather, you can be very aggressive or try and kite away from a fight if things go south with the help of the Lorelei. So Lorelei is going to be very important to try and save those carries.
And if you're wondering what is Lorelei good at, she's a hero that can protect her team so very well, especially if she manages to pick up a Clockwork later on in the game once she has enough gold. Spamming her abilities is her strongest suit, just so that she can keep on giving them speed boosts, she can keep on giving them barriers with the ultimate. At the same time, though, Vox is one of the better picks
And there's
into
the Fortress.
Lorelei. And now with Fortress, that's even more moral wounds that can shut down the Lorelei very effectively.
Absolutely. Lorelei going to have her work cut out coming out here against this hyper-aggressive Cloud9 composition. This is the composition that we've seen out of Cloud9 time and time again. I Love Joseph on a very comfortable pick of that Koshka. That's something we've seen him play thousands of times in the past. And the Fortress Vox, we were talking about that as a staple of the Cloud9 roster.
Yeah, it's such an early aggressive comp. The Aftershock on Koshka with the mortal wounds and the bleed from Fortress and Vox's burst, that can delete a carry or a captain instantly. So watch the focus from Cloud9 playing his composition, and they're going to put so much pressure in the early game against the Baron here.
All right, it's that time once again, gentlemen. I'm going to ask you for a prediction coming on into this series. We've got Elite8 on the A side. We've got Cloud9 on the B side. Who is going to be the ones to take this one?
I'm going to go for Cloud9 because 9's a bigger number than 8.
That is strong logic. I can't argue with that one. Tasty Bacon, how are you feeling?
7, 8, 9. So maybe 9 isn't going to be there, but it's Cloud9. Cloud9 is going to win this game. It's the teams and the way that they've been playing is just very dominant.
Yeah, I have to go with Cloud9 as well. I think they're going to try to prove that they're the most reliable team. That's the point here. They're the most reliable team coming out of North America with TSM and Tribe already dropping games. And going into quarterfinals with a lot of momentum could mean quite a lot for this team. All
right, well, we have an all-American desk here predicting Cloud9 over Elite8, but it's time to head over to our casters and get this series underway. It's time to find out if Cloud9 can lock their spot in the quarterfinals and to see what Elite8 have to bring to the table.
Thank you very much, Munchables. Here we go. The two-time Cloud9 champions, well, Unified Live champions, that is, coming up against Elite8, the Chinese powerhouse.
Elite8, actually the Indonesian powerhouse, my friend. They are the SEA Spring champions. They had an incredible performance in the spring. They beat out Impunity. Technically, the full roster previous Impunity. They had an amazing series. They were kind of the underdogs of the entire SEA Spring tournament and came out on top. They were so happy with the win. They got that spot at Worlds, and now is their chance to prove that they are worth that position. No mean feat ahead of them, though. Cloud9 have been dominant, and Cloud9 have been dominant for a reason. Tried, tested, and true. These guys are the all-singing, all-American powerhouses.
The battle for the Halcyon Fold has begun.
Ridden Cloud9, ready to jump onto the fold. Here we go, game number 1. Elite8 over on the blue.
I'm going to give a shout out to the crowd, by the way.
Reds.
There's still plenty of people in the crowd going, and obviously supporting their region as well. Elite8 from the Southeast Asia region. Got a big test against them, but if they can get to late game, they get their Echo on the Lorelei, they get Baron up to 4 items. You know, C9 have got a specific time window that they need to abuse here. Now, we know C9 can do that well, but can they do it on a world stage?
And we've seen Lorelei for the first time as well on the main stage. It's quite exciting. The newest hero to grace the fold as well, and that's in the hands of Anime Saves Me. We'll see if Lorelei can save the rest of his team. So much utility in that pick. Fish Food, Water Wall being the key ability. Her ultimate, that cleanses CC, and a massive shield as well can really save Blackfeather if he goes deep.
Yeah, it cleanses any movement impairing effects. Technically, Koshka counts as a movement impairing effect with her Yummy Catnip Frenzy, so you can cleanse that out. Double cleanse, especially, you get an increased barrier when you use it on current patches of water. So if you can get to a stage where you have, like I said, Echo on Lorelei, Baron with four items, you have almost an impenetrable wall, a literal water wall, if you will, that is going to be very difficult for C9 to push through easily.
It's pretty scary, but Cloud9, they've got the ability to dive on that backline. They've got the Koshka. It's Joseph's Koshka as well, mind you, considering.
And it's going up against a matchup that is pretty good for the Koshka in general. Does quite well into CP Blackfeather, and Joseph is known for pushing advantages early on, so we look to see if he can go aggressive. C9 need to be aggressive to win this. This is a composition that they are famed for in North America. You know, Gabe on the Fortress, Joseph on the Koshka, and obviously Old School on his Vox, but they need to continue that level of aggression that we saw from them in North America.
Yeah, Joseph actually prioritizing really early defenses here with shielding and armor. He's going to start up Elder Treant with the help of Gabe Vizzle, so should be able to secure it. And Anime Saves Me is just up into that lane. In fact, all 3 members of Elite8 right now up there, making sure Old School doesn't push too far in against the Baron, who can be quite vulnerable early on. They've got level 2 jump jets already.
Kind of the point that Baron kind of sucks early, does well late, but it's actually quite difficult to punish Baron sometimes. You really need to be sort of searching for every given opportunity. A lot of the ways to punish Baron is by having super heavy siege or dive compositions, and you just take turrets early. You open up the map, you make it harder for Baron to farm safely. You can only push a certain way through the lane without becoming vulnerable. But you have really good wave clear, like Anime Save Me with that Fish Food. Really, really good at just stomping down waves, setting them up for big explosive basic attacks coming out from the Baron. they actually have a decent way of protecting. Here goes Joseph looking for that initial engage.
Blackfeather going fairly low. Anime says he's going to be here, but Joseph pushing forward. Honyegas is going to be able to get over the wall and help them for the time being, but that pressure from Cloud9, something they love to put on early, is already paying off.
Yeah, straight in there, straight looking to put pressure on Official Hein. The back off was there. They forced him to use a flask, and you know this is what Cloud9 do. They take an advantage. They don't necessarily gain from getting kills, but they push someone out of lane and they take an advantage on the map from it. And they're going to go here again.
Anime saves me in a lot of trouble. Does send out the fish through, but Cloud9 are chasing. Won't be able to quite find the kill just yet. Heim's going to be there. Same with Honyegas, in fact. Doesn't quite land the slow. Old school. Wrong place, wrong time. Fish food actually connects. Pops the flask as well. Heim should just be able to finish him off on point. For the execute, finds first blood.
Feels like a bit of miscommunication there between the Cloud9 roster members. Both Joseph and Gabe Vizzle backed off to take the back camps. They were more invested in denying gold from this Blackfeather. And Joseph, so Old School was looking for a flank. Old School was looking to collapse, trying to say, well, we have flask advantage. Maybe we can jump in and put pressure on them from both sides. Pincer-like movement. But unfortunately, Cloud9 weren't all on that boat, and they kind of split their focus.
Split their focus and were punished for it as well. Elite8 did secure first blood, and that first blood did go over to Heim, so he will be able to accelerate that. Working towards the Shadowgash, you can imagine, or in fact, actually, it's going to be an Aftershock first item, it seems.
Yeah, Aftershock first item is something that we've seen quite frequently on Blackfeather, especially when they're going into sort of burst-heavy matchups. I guess that the thought process is here that they're unlikely to be playing a ranged game post-level 8 often versus C9. C9 want to engage on them. C9 have a Fortress, they have a Koshka. C9 have the ability to jump past that. Yeah, the flying basic attack there. C9 have the ability to jump past that on-point range at whim if they wanted to. So what's the point in going for a poke-heavy build when you're just going to have very limited time to poke? Why not take a melee-heavy build with the Aftershock and look for burst likeness? And that's what I think Elite8 are thinking here with Official Hein going for the Aftershock on the Blackfeather.
Two completed items now, one apiece for Cloud9 and Elite8 in their laners. Old School has got that push and shift, the sustain, and the mortal wounds as well. And Honyegas, more importantly, has his... Oh, that was a nice Johnny Candy Frenzy jump straight underneath the turret. However, Joseph going extremely low. Turret doesn't quite finish him off. 450 damage, but that flask did save him for the moment.
Did need to use the fountain, exactly. That's another 50 seconds where Cloud9 can't find another engage. It might even give Honyegas a bit of a wake-up call to potentially go for a reflex block, but the way that he is itemized means that he's going to have poor slotting efficiency if he wants to go for a reflex block. Generally, you want to start rushing towards double turrets monocle. He's picked up light shielding early on, which means that realistically, it's going to be unlikely that we see a reflex block coming out too quickly from Honyegas, which means he's going to be potentially a target for I Love Joseph every time. Often, the sort of the way that you talk about it is level 6. When Koshka's level 6, you need to have a reflex block. But he did manage to get out with the jump jets there, so timed those really well.
Timed extremely well. Joseph, we know as soon as he hits that 6 mark or just beforehand, goes to the lane, gets him a little bit of extra XP, the ambient XP, jump straight him. And that's normally said and done, but a nice time jump jets did save him for the time being. Already you can see infusions coming out from Old School and Joseph. They want to fight early, and in fact the gold miner might be the key here. They got a lot of vision around it. They're actually going to start it up here. Elite8 knows this happening, however.
Yeah, exactly. This is Cloud9 in a nutshell. Take those infusions. What's a good way to force a fight when you've got an infusion? Force the gold mine, force the crystal sentry, bring the enemy team to you. The only problem is they could be facing a steal from Official Hein, who may look for one of those on-point or Aftershock steals here.
He's looking for it. Heim just tipping out of the bush. They are going to be able to flare him out for the time being. Ironcomb is down for the execute. Joseph's going to focus it. In fact, they're just going to go straight on the back line, or at least try to. Wait for it comes through. Joseph's going to be able to secure that gold mine, and Cloud9 just happy with that trade for the time being.
Yeah, Joseph was split between trying to engage here. Official Hein's going to run back in. Old School, no energy right now, but they're going to make the engage.
Straight in. Fish food did go a little bit wide. Anime saves me in a lot of trouble. Does end up backing off. Heim going fairly low as well, but the Uncanny Frenzy finds the kill. Joseph finds his first one. Old School does find the kill on the Baron. An ace for Cloud9. That is going to be beautifully executed team fight.
How do they do this? How do they just suddenly turn the trigger and find a fight that turns into clean ace at 7 minutes? I feel like that should never have happened. You lose the gold mine, you back off, but now they're going to get the gold mine, a clean ace, and a turret. And Cloud9 once again somehow crush early game every single gosh darn time. It's just so impressive how they pull that trigger so quickly.
They get the 3-piece as well. The ace, the gold mine, and the turret. Like you said, what a perfect rotation from them. You can already see early war threats being picked up from Gabe Vizzle as well. They know their win condition is getting on top of Hun Jaegers and shutting him down. Hein, in an extended team fight, will be able to do a fair bit of damage with those on points, but Hun Jaegers, he's the guy that when he scales up late game, he's going to be 2-hitting Old School. He's going to be 2-hitting Joseph. Cloud9, this is why they're the 2-time unified champions. It's because they can execute their win condition and understand the enemy's win condition as well.
Yeah, you said it, you couldn't say it better myself. Movement speed, critical to this C9 composition. That ability to jump through whatever they're being thrown at. Obviously, they're going to get slowed down from Lorelei. They have to negotiate their way around that fish food as well. So it's really important to have that movement speed on board. And now they've also got the Poison Shiv. People don't often realize this, but Poison Shiv does affect barriers. Poison Shiv does it with a mortal wound. It will affect the barrier being placed on a target. So that means that obviously you're starting to reduce Anime Save Me's efficacy as a defensive tool when he has that ultimate available to him. Oh, this is so Cloud9. This is so Cloud9. Every opportunity they take an objective of the map, and it just doesn't look like Elite8 are in a position to respond.
They got nothing to deal with that at all. They had to rotate to the lane in order to be able to clear that wave out. Meanwhile, Cloud9 now going to start up that gold miner as well. Hun Jaegers is nowhere to be found. Neither is Anime Save Me, as they just backed off to pick up that Crucible and an Infusion, as well as that Monocle for Hun Jaegers now as well. So Cloud9 should be able to finish this, although Hein is just hanging around in that Tri-Brush. But Cloud9 scored the second gold miner of the game. A nice payout as well, almost about 300 gold apiece.
Yeah, item spike starting to open up as well. You can see Old School got his
Fish
2 item
food
spike.
goes down. As soon as that happens, they just jump straight on Anime Savey. He is going to fall. Yami Cannon Frenzy underneath the turret as well. Hun Jaegers can't get out quick enough. Jump jets away, but jump jets to his grave. Hein is the last member alive. Cloud9 diving underneath 3 turrets just in the base at this point. Don't seem to care. And to be honest with you, I'm not too surprised. Even Old School's paying Hive a little visit as well. He doesn't really mind all too much.
He did it. There we go. He tried to jump over, missed it, and then got it the second time around. Old School makes a little swag exit out of the base there. This is the problem by itemizing like Shield over itemizing a reflex block. You don't have that ability to stop I Love Joseph searching you out as a target or seeking you out as a target. And this is the problem with Baron. Baron has one slot that you don't use for offensive items in the early mid game. And that slot, 9 times out of 10, should be reflex block.
It's not there.
It's not.
I don't know what to tell you. It's just not there.
I don't know what to tell you, Excalibur.
It doesn't exist. It's shielding. He wants to stop Joseph's damage, but that's not the problem right now. He needs to be able to block the Yami Frenzy, but that's what Anime Save Me has got.
I mean, Joseph's damage is a problem, but it's obviously, I think both Old School and Joseph's damage are a problem. So if you're getting locked down, Joseph's dealing damage to you regardless, and then you have Old School diving you too. And Gabe Vizzle, I mean, he's still got Dragon Blood contracts. People kind of underestimate that little bit of burst that Dragon Blood contract brings to the table. Gabe is one of the only captains I know, and I think one of the only captains I've seen in this tournament so far, utilize Dragon Blood contract and try and make use of it in the early game. They're going to eliminate the Crystal Sentry at 11 minutes. Cloud9 on a rampage.
Man, that is one of the quickest ones I've seen. In fact, I believe the quickest one we've ever seen is about 8 minutes.
I think it was Fnatic in EU that we saw was a really quick.
Fnatic in EU, about 8 minutes of Crystal Sentry elimination, so only a couple of minutes behind. They're going to take their 3rd gold miner as well. We're at 11.5 minutes on the clock. It's almost a 7,000 gold lead in the favor of Cloud9 right now. Like you said, this is so them. Every single time they spot Elite8 in the lane, instantly to their jungle, taking the camps, taking the Crystal.
I think we should explain why this kind of playstyle works really well against late game scaling compositions as well. Cloud9 prioritize getting that Crystal Sentry down. That suddenly makes that portion of the map in the jungle less attractive for Elite8 to safely farm. You can see now, I mean, Official Heim's getting targeted because that Crystal Sentry's gone. Here we go.
Fish finally lands. Nice. Rose defensive over the wall. Ion Cannon did come down as well.
This area that Cloud9 are in right now usually is a sanctuary for a late game scaling team. They can rely on the defensive bonuses of their Crystal Sentry to at least get their back farm and start building that gold towards their late game builds. C9 take up that Crystal Sentry early, no longer a sanctuary, and they can just do this.
Hive. Half HP goes down, and Water Wall used as well. Elite8 blow a massive defensive cooldown there, and you can see Cloud9 every single time they see Anime Save Me use that fish food. instantly jump on the back line if it misses somebody, no worries, because they don't have to worry about any other form of CC.
And Gabe actually blocked it too. Gabe blocked it with the Crucible that time round, so that allowed them to continue that threat a bit more. They're going to push this lane up, and again, Cloud9 just searching for opportunities. They have that gold miner that they've consistently taken off the map. That gold miner forces Elite8 to make a decision between just losing gold for free or trying to contest it or steal it. If they try to contest it or steal it, they play right into Cloud9's territory, which is come and face us where the gold is, which is at that gold miner. And it means that you really delay your late game scaling. Like, you really delay items, and Cloud9 are some of the best players in the world at delaying late game scaling compositions. Just by the way they play, the pure, unfiltered aggression, it just stops anybody that has this late game plan in their tracks.
We know they're very aggressive, but right now they've taken a bit of their foot off the pedal just for the time being, because haven't really found all too much. They sent Heim fairly low. They did force Anime Save Me to actually use that water wall, but that's back up at this current moment in time. They're not pushing on to this tier 2, even though they were more than happy to actually just dive in the base of Elite8. They are more than kind of content to just take these gold miners. This will be one of the last ones that is actually worth taking right now. We have 14 minutes on the clock now. That's their 4th gold miner in a row. But they need to be able to force stuff because they're just letting Hunyegas farm up, and now he's got double monocle. Yeah, double monocle has come through, but he's still very vulnerable. Still no reflex block, and ideally he's going to want his 4th item. Interestingly enough, Official Hein has gone for the Aftershock into Dragon's Eye build, which I think is a very strong build in general in a lot of Aftershock junglers. It gives them a bit of longevity in fights, and I think that's what they need. If they can survive fights, especially when you get the Echo on the Lorelei, which is now completed, that longevity could come into play. I think official Elite8 have actually weathered a huge storm here, and they've hit some pretty good item spikes that I think genuinely could impact how these fights end up going. Like you said, double monocle on Baron, Dragon's Eye, and Echo, all of which are really important to this Elite8 composition. They're going to back off once again. If they start that gold miner up, I'll be a little bit confused. But I guess more gold the better. 10 seconds, though, until that Kraken that does end up spawning. Infusions across the board. And now, so I think, really, Anime Save Me is going to be the biggest savior of the team, you could say, with that Echo. He's going to be able to Echo Water Wall, even Echo Fish Food if really necessary. 2 big defensive tools in order to actually get the rest of his team out of any situation. That's going to be the catalyst in these fights. They just need Hunyegas to just stay alive. That Kraken is going to get started up by Cloud9, though. Yeah, and this is where Cloud9 are going to make or break this game. They need Elite8 to respond. Elite8 have responded. Goes down. Anime Save Me goes straight on top of them. Nice reflex block. Straight for that wave bridge. Jumped straight on Lorelei, though. She ends up going down. Heim ends up falling as well. Ion Cannon did all but nothing. And Jaeger's trying to kite back. Still does a fair bit of work, but can't sustain all of that damage. Not until 3 members of Cloud9 jump on you. Ace for Cloud9, and that should be the Kraken as well. So that, I think, was a sequence of events that Cloud9 set up to have that intended purpose. You see all that deep vision that they put into the Elite8 jungle? That was to basically map out Elite8's movements when they're looking to contest the Kraken. So you saw that Gabe Bizzle just instantly disengaged from Kraken because he had full knowledge of where the Elite8 roster was. Let's take a look at it again. You see, they're moving up. That was a great block from Gabe Bizzle. He is kind of the block king. And they take out Lorelei. She then has no impact because they don't have the fountain left. They don't have any defensive utilization. And suddenly then it's just chase down the Baron. Pretty easy fight for Cloud9 to watch sweep up. But what was most impressive was how Cloud9 set up for that fight, which was that deep vision. Gabe Bizzle then saw them move up to try and contest. They didn't actually want to take the 50-50 at all, which I think is super wise against a heavy burst composition, especially with the Baron having a very high burst. So I think it was very wise not to take the 50-50 and pull the trigger straight away. No questions asked. Gabe Bizzle jumped straight in. Now they've got to deal with this Kraken. And Cloud9, they've got all the cooldowns available to them as well. This is a bad situation for Elite8. 10,000 gold separates them as well. Joseph goes in, takes a fair chunk out of Heim, however, just focusing on the Kraken at the moment. They haven't got a massive amount of range damage, Scoundrel. Obviously, with the Vox, very low range. They're actually going to dive in, though. Fish Food does end up missing, but Ultimate is fairly low as well. That Kraken about half HP, but they've broken the base nonetheless. Yeah, Cloud9 probably going to back off here. I don't know if they're going to be comfortable waiting an entire other rotation for Kraken to come back online.
That's a lot of time that you're going to give over this Elite 8 roster. You can see shielding has been sold, and then now you can see Hunyegers has finished up the Aegis before his 4th item. Baron with 3 items is fine, but realistically, Baron with 4 items is what we consider that true late-game powerhouse. Official Hein actually ended up selling, I think it was his shielding, and he's picked up a reflex block alongside the piercing spear, so the piercing shard. So he's going to be looking to have a little bit more impact against this heavy shielding lineup, because you've got double Aegis, almost 2 metal jackets, or almost 3 metal jackets completed for C9. So they've all got their defensive items in stock now.
Again, this comes back to knowing, Cloud9 knowing the win condition of Elite 8, and that is Hunyegers in the late game. They've itemized perfectly for it, all those metal jackets like you were saying, and their ability to easily annihilate Anime Save Me has really been the key to victory as well. No water walls to get you out. It's really just a wonder wall for Cloud9 right now. They're just going to be able to clear up these minions in the lane. Their turret has taken next to no damage as well. I reckon it's probably in the single digits at this point. Yeah, absolutely. Cloud9, just like we said, have been dominant from the get-go. But this has gone down to an almost 20-minute game. There is a 10k gold advantage for Cloud9. Like, we are talking about how Elite 8 are starting to hit their late-game power spikes, but there's still a 10k gold advantage. That is still a huge amount of teamfight prowess that Cloud9 still has in their favor. They are just playing like they want to rotate around the next Kraken spawn, though. I think they're looking for one decisive play off the next Kraken spawn. I don't know whether Hunyegers is going to be able to generate enough income to maintain his infusion and get his 4th item by the next time that Kraken spawns. So that's probably going to be good for Cloud9. That will be their decisive play. They're going to look to end the game off that next Kraken spawn. Yeah, they're just going to clear up the rest of their own jungle, get as much gold as they possibly can, extend that gold lead. We're reaching the 20-minute mark, though. It's been a fair while. Gabe's gone for Clockwork. Gabe has picked up a Clockwork there. That's an item that you often see as a 5th item on a lot of captains these days. Especially for Gabe, who doesn't really need an Echo. It's kind of like the replacement for an Echo on a non-Echo captain. Just allows him to be a bit more aggressive, can get up his skills a bit more often, and that allows him to single target dive as well, which is obviously really good. Oh, Anime Saves Me is in a little bit of trouble there. There's the fish food. It's going to get blocked, but they all dodge it anyway. It doesn't matter. Iron Cannon's going to come down also, but they're going to jump on Haim. He's going extremely low. The shield is going to help him. Fountain keeps him alive for the time being. Hunyegers left completely alone as well. You haven't get Frenzy straight onto Black Feather, but Fountain will just heal Cloud9 up. They're not going to go down anytime soon. They find 1, they find 2, they find 3. Ace for Cloud9, and this very well be the base as well. Who needs another Kraken when Elite 8 just wander into your territory anyway? That was a massively overconfident push in the lane from Elite 8. They were trying to farm up all the way. They'd been starved of farm for the majority of the game because Cloud9 had boxed them into their own base because of how aggressive they've been in the jungle. This was textbook Cloud9. I don't even know if you could describe it in another way. This was simply textbook Cloud9. Both turrets end up falling. Crystal is going to get shattered as well. Cloud9 find game number 1 over Elite 8. Crushing that early game, controlling the jungle, expanding the map, boxing this late game Elite 8 composition into their own base, starving them of farm. It just business as usual. I mean, it took a little bit longer than with some of the Cloud9 games that we've seen before, but no part of that game felt like Cloud9 broke a sweat. Everything was calculated, everything was executed with that pinpoint precision that we expect Cloud9 to have. Yeah, exactly. I mean, can they really be toppled at this point? Elite 8 looked a little bit lost. Maybe it was that Baron in the lane. Maybe they need to change something up to be a little bit more aggressive. Pick up a Rona, perhaps. I think you need to meet Cloud9 where Cloud9 intends to meet you. I think you need to meet them in the early game and take something that brawls just as well as the kind of compositions that Cloud9 build. That is the Cloud9 composition that we've seen run time and time and time and time again. If you've done your research, you'll know that they love that composition. Sometimes strategic banning is worth it, Jaws. Well, Koshka might be that bad. Joseph just took over the game, but we'll throw it over to the analyst desk now, where Munch and the rest of the guys can break down that game even further.
Thank you very much, Jaws. Yes, we are here at the analyst desk ready to dissect the action just a little bit more. I'll explain to you guys what on earth just happened right there, because Cloud9 showing exactly why everybody keeps calling them one of the favorites for the whole tournament. Absolutely dominant victory here over Elite 8. And honestly, when you can walk in with a composition like that no one else is playing and just manhandle another team, you know that you're coming in strong at that point.
I feel like we could almost take footage from our analyst desk segments after any of the early round matches from Cloud9 at the Unified Western Championships and just play that over right now, because this is Cloud9's game plan. This is the way that they win games time and time and time again. There was nothing out of the ordinary. There was nothing unusual. This is just Cloud9 playing Cloud9's game.
Yeah, absolutely. Phenomenal stuff coming out from them. And Elite8 going to have to change some things up going into game number 2 of this series. What is it that Elite8 can improve immediately to have a direct impact in this?
I mean, we talked about this last year at Worlds. NA's aggressive composition and draft style just dominated every other region except EA back in Worlds of last year. And I think teams, if you're going to give NA a early aggressive comp like that, Koshka, Fortress, Vox, then you need to have a game plan against it. You need to be able to turtle or draft something that can at least last in the early game and have a mid-game power spike and then hopefully late game to win. And that's what they need to do.
And I mean, that type of playstyle dominated everyone except for EA, because EA back then and Rockstar Mata played the same style, just played it better. This time around, though, they're not running the same style. So if North America comes out as the only really aggressive region that plays right up in your face and plays very confidently once they get ahead, it could very well be NA's competition right here.
Well, I mean, you talk about the aggressive style. Look at the other teams as far as that have played aggressive. Kraken, first in their group. Impunity, surprising everyone and getting out of their group as well. The aggressive teams are the teams that are performing here at Worlds. It's that simple.
Absolutely. I mean, we have seen other regions being aggressive as well. We've seen China being aggressive. We've seen, obviously, Impunity as well being very aggressive in some of their games. It's surprisingly aggressive. So definitely not only America, but we do need to see Elite8 bringing that aggression as well, being willing to go toe-to-toe with Cloud9. Now, we're about to get on into the next draft, getting these series underway. What are we expecting to see here? Are we expecting Cloud9, now that they're swapping sides of the draft, to still just kind of be same old, rinse and repeat this same strategy until basically it doesn't work anymore? Yeah,
pretty much. What Elite8 needs to do is think about the time spikes, like gold mine spawning, infusion timing, around 7-8 minutes. All the best teams normally get an infusion and set it up and play an objective off that. You gotta have map awareness, you gotta check that, and don't play into that infusion power spike that a lot of teams tend to do.
And you say that Elite8 need to bring on their aggression. It all starts in the draft here as we jump into the second game's draft. They need to get picks other than the Baron. The reason why North American teams are right now not prioritizing the Baron is because he's way too weak in the early game and he's way too counterable, because he is very squishy. He's not as durable as the Fox that you see over and over, or something like the Rona that we saw also earlier on. So it's just, it starts in the draft and then it becomes later on in the execution.
Well, Churnwalker will be a lock-in here for Cloud9. Just want to reiterate something as well here. Cloud9, off of that last victory, have now guaranteed themselves a spot in the quarterfinals. They have 3 wins on the board right now, and since Pain Gaming cannot get 3 wins, that guarantees that Cloud9 have at least second place in this group. But honestly, based on the first game in this series, it's looking like Cloud9 are going to have a clean 4-0. Don't want to call it too early. Elite8 still have time to prove us wrong, but honestly, based on the results before us right now, definitely feels like Cloud9 are looking clean. Lyra will be the answer for Elite8.
Yeah, and this Churnwalker pick for Cloud9, it's something that they did play in the autumn season, but they never really had great success with it. So this is actually very interesting for me that they picked it up, because if they can have a strong showing with it, now suddenly this is something that teams will have to worry about going forward in this competition.
Yeah, Elite8, please ban Koshka. You cannot give Cloud9 Churnwalker Koshka composition.
I mean, the thing about Churnwalker is that since they've already secured their spot at the quarterfinals,
there we go.
If you're gonna have a chance to practice the Churnwalker and bring it out so that you can feel more comfortable with it, this is the perfect time to do it for C9.
Yeah, Rona will be a really good ban here, because Rona is something that works well into Churnwalker, kind of in your face, ulting and getting lifesteal from everybody. Kind of counters the Churnwalker heroic perk he has from his chain. So let's see if that ban will come out and a Rona ban. Oh, they're going to ban Kestro actually instead.
Interesting. Maybe just trying to force their opponents to show more of their hands, because this is something that we've seen other regions start to pick up a little bit more.
It's also about that it can counter your Churnwalker very effectively. If they play the Kestrel Lyra with another range carry in the jungle, we know that works very, very well against the Churnwalker. So Cloud9 are just being preemptive with what they don't want to go up against.
And so obviously with the strong picks that we were talking about still on the board, like the Rona and the Black Feather, you got to figure one of those two will be looked at here by Elite8. But I feel like you want to make sure you get those hard dive heroes because we've talked about it. That's what you do against Turnwalker is you either play super far range so that you can just try and break the chain quickly, but even more effective is when you are able to be the team engaging onto Turnwalker. So having that dive ability from your composition is one of the most effective ways to counter out against a Turnwalker, and they are going to go ahead and grab that Rona.
There's that Rona, and is Cloud9 going to take the Black Feather now? Because if they don't take Black Feather, they're going to hand over a Rona weapon power with a Black Feather Lyra jungle. That's an extremely strong meta composition. However, Turnwalker could work definitely with the Black Feather against the Rona here, but Rona counters Black Feather pretty hard if it's a weapon with Black Feather.
I'm more interested to see what Cloud9 are going to go for with a carry pick here. I wouldn't be surprised if it is a Sky Weapon Power, actually, just because that's the only thing left for Old School to play against this Rona, especially since the box is taken away. You could run the Black Feather, or you could run the Baron, but that is too risky.
You could always see him go back to his old standby of the Adagio in the lane, which, I mean...
Against Rona, that would be tough with no mobility at all.
It'd be tough, but... It's something that I could definitely see Cloud9 doing here, just to flex their muscle a little bit and just really kind of showcase just how strong they are as individual players. That it is going to be that Sky pickup. It does make a lot more sense to go for it. Like I said, I was kind of hoping for the Adagio just because I love to see teams just try and really showcase their abilities, but obviously the Sky pickup is just very meta against the Rona.
And probably CP Black Feather here, and then what leaves open for Elite8 is going to be like a Petal or a Baptiste would work as well with the Rona. Would be pretty strong. So let's see if the Black Feather will be picked up here by Cloud9.
We'll have to see where they do go with this one. Still options available for them. And obviously that Sky can be flexed between the jungle and the lane as well. Zorro, what are you expecting here?
I mean, CP Black Feather would make the most sense, but what I'm excited about is if Elite goes for the CP Fortress later on, it wouldn't make too much sense against the weapon power Sky and with the Rona because she can't proc those bleeds as fast as possible. She doesn't use the auto attacks as often. She likes to use the red mist instead. But it would be very interesting to see Elite8 going for something that they know works very well for them now that they're backed against the wall.
Yeah.
Well, Black Feather will be the lock-in in the end. That's what you guys were predicting. It is going to come on through for Cloud9. So they have their composition locked on in. Now Elite8 have to decide how they're going to counter that one out.
I do like the Fortress here because one perk of Rona actually, Berserker's Rage, when she hits targets that are mortally wounded, she actually gains additional Blood Rage. So any crit or any basic attack that she lands, she gets additional Blood Rage. It means her abilities are up faster, and every hit that she lands, it refreshes her her B ability a little quicker. So Fortress would be great, but yep, Baptiste is going to be picked since the Black Feather was picked on the side of Cloud9.
That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. You're playing Baptiste who struggles against ranged hero and against CP Black Feather and Sky. Those are two heroes that can just keep their distance and dance around your abilities.
Not only that, but we talk about one of the biggest strengths of the Baptiste is the Ordained. Black Feather just throws offensives and he's out of the Ordained without worrying about the stun and can get onto another target or keep himself safe. I think it's definitely going to be used to try and focus on the Sky, keep her from using those Surrey strikes all over the team fights, and try and just keep everything kind of condensed for this Rona to dance around, to spin around on. But it's Cloud9. It's going to be so tough to do that.
I mean, to Elite8's credit, if they manage to get the Wombo combo or the Fearsome Shade into the Red Mist Rona spinning on top of those targets that are fleeing away, that could be very devastating. But like you said, Cloud9 having a very strong draft here in the second game.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's exactly what you expect out of Cloud9, right? Especially with the new coach on board, with all of the support staff available to them. You expect them coming in strong, coming in well prepared, but also this is still a Cloud9 that is looking to hold strategies at this early stage in the tournament. I think it's about time that we get on into this one, gentlemen. Cloud9 seem like a heavy favorite here, but Elite8, they have a pretty strong composition for themselves. We'll see if it's going to be enough to take a game here or if they're going to be in even pegging against Pain Gaming later on in the day. It's time to pass it back up to our casters and get into game number 2 of Cloud9 against Elite8.
Thanks, guys. Let's go. Game number 2, Elite8 versus Cloud9. And I don't want to call us mind readers, Scoundrel, but I said the Rona, and I said Ban Koshka. Well, maybe not you, but I'm the mind reader here.
It was definitely more targeted this time round, which I think is good, because Cloud9 warrants some sort of targeted bans. I have to agree with the analyst desk, though. I don't feel the Baptiste pick was super key. here for Elite8, and I think Cloud9 have got a superior composition. It's a very hard combo to pull off with the Fearsome Shade into Rona. You have to position Rona kind of behind the enemy team. You also have to expect Gabe not to block the Fearsome Shade, which he does because it's Gabe. So it's a very difficult composition to pull off.
That it is, but we're on to the fold. Game number 2 underway. They've swapped sides. Joseph this time doesn't get his hands on that Koshka, but one scary man I want to look at is Gabe Vizzle. He's on that Churn Walker, which has been so impactful throughout day number 1.
Who would win? Indonesian Pride or one Churny boy?
One Cheney boy.
All right, C9 rotating from in to out, I like to call this, taking the middle sentry straight away. The only way you punish this kind of movement is by heavy invading. If you move super quickly through your own jungle, you can heavy invade onto the enemy backs, and often you can get an advantage because you have a small level advantage by that point, especially if you can catch them in the middle of doing their backs. But it doesn't look like Elite8 were quick enough to the mark, and that's going to be a Cloud9 getting that central Treant for free. And often you can keep up the rotation because you have the timing of the Treant now, so you can keep up that rotation over and over again. And this could be your Crystal Sentry for the next few respawns.
Cloud9 as well, splitting the backs, but Old School was able to make his way back to the lane rather sharpish. However, minion candy being used here by Elite8 does make sure he has a little bit more of a difficult time actually farming it up. And that does actually leave Heim and Hunyegas a little bit more time in their jungle as well. Might be able to set up something here or just share the backs like Cloud9 did a rotation ago.
So we're going to see the Weapon Power Sky coming out again, obviously, which is something that we saw Dienzio pilot like a monster in that game against Rox. It is super hard to lock down a Weapon Power Sky. She is ultra mobile, very short range in the Batiste. Obviously, Hunyegas is going to get kited like a madman. So the only thing that can really work here is if Sky gets locked in, especially if you portal on top of her with the Bright Bulwark and then gets locked in by a Ordained, it is a good way to lock down the Sky that way. But obviously that's kind of countered by things like Crucible and Reflex Block, and we know how good all of the C9 roster are at using those particular tools to their advantage. So I still think this is going to be a very, very tough fight to take.
Vizzle got 3 chains, but it didn't matter. That damage from Hunyegas as he was trapped in that Ordained does result in first blood for Elite8.
Yeah, again, a little bit of an overextension from Gabe there. It's always tempting to go for as many changes physically possible, but if you have 3 enemy members jump straight on top of you, you will not survive too long. Gabe didn't even bother using his healing flask, knew that he was dead either way, and that'll be first blood going over to Elite8. It's a good start for them. It's the kind of start that they needed. Cloud9 are already through, I believe, but obviously Elite8 are going to want to give themselves the best opportunity going up against Pain later on.
This is a tall order as well, you can imagine. Elite8 sitting there watching Cloud9's VODs over the Unified Championships, like, how are we going to win this? Although they are just contesting this out of the tree and don't get the steal. It's a nice stun straight on to Joseph. He ends up going down. The Ordained was perfect. They're going to chase onto Old School now as well. Gabe Vizzle following up. Got a 3-chain torment, but Hunyegas jumps straight back into the fray. Results into another kill. Gabe Vizzle should be able to survive. He's got the regeneration from that 3 chains. Trapped in the Ordained, it's not going to happen, but Elite8 find 2 more kills.
Yeah, this is the power of Rona early on, especially if he closes that distance super easily. I love Joseph going towards the Aftershock build on the Black Feather, but it's just a composition where they don't have the item spikes necessary to duel up against what Elite8 are bringing to the table in the early stages. Cloud9 do have to be very careful, I think. You can't afford to give too many of these fights over to Elite8 in the early game. You don't want to allow them to spike too quickly. You need to wait until you get your items that are going to allow you to duel on sort of level pegging. Sky needs at least the Poison Shiv and Breaking Point to start to have a significant teamfight effect. So I just think Cloud9 need to play the early game a little bit, maybe more tempered than they usually do.
Well, they've, like you said, had control of that Elder Treant for the entirety of the game. Elite8 did decide to jump on them one last time. Item shop has opened up, which means Old School's going to be able to pick up his first item. Same with Gabe Vizzle. Now Joseph just looking for that Aftershock a little later on. You've got to say, the anime saves me. His ability to keep Hunyegas alive in the lane is there, but they've not needed to thus far. In fact, both teams have been rotating in and out of the lane. Hunyegas has not had a tough time CSing up in there because he's not actually faced Old School in a 1v1 or a 2v2 situation just yet.
No, he has picked up the Serpent's Mass Power Spike. He's also picked up an Infusion off the back of that as well. Super early Infusion. I'm guessing this is a preemptive Infusion, knowing where Cloud9 often like to spend their resources. I would be surprised if Cloud9 went for early sort of gold miners against this Elite 8 composition before they have those item spikes that I think necessary are to fight up against them. So I wouldn't expect to see Cloud9 taking early infusion battles with this composition just yet. But we do see Old School having one in his inventory, so that maybe spells out that he's anticipating a fight in some way, shape, or form, and that will help him be effective in the next couple of minutes.
Yeah, the counter infusion, you could say. Anime Save Me going fairly low, so just going to be able to heal him up. However, starting with a Fountain this game, more often than not, especially in NA and EU, we are seeing Crucible start. And that might have been something to consider as well, because Gabe Fizzle is hitting that level 6 very, very soon. Oh, that's a big cooldown as well, such early on. 80-second cooldown on Heim's Fearsome Shade, used to just disengage from Cloud9.
Yeah, but it does save Cloud9 getting an easy lead-in onto this gold miner, and obviously probably worth it for that sense. By the next time the fight comes around, it's only a minute now until it comes off cooldown. I imagine he'll have that up and kicking for the next time they duel up against Cloud9. But yeah, Crucible needs to be rushed by Gabriel. It's a really important item for him. That will be a matter of priority as the next item. Also, like you said, Crucible for Anime Save Me, and he's picked up the reflex block. So both of them kind of need Crucible. Crucible is pretty much imperative to both of these captains this game.
Exactly that. Gabe Fizzle has been doing a good job, and it's like my lanes when I play Lyra lane, but I just get dunked every single time I face a Churmwalker. Feels bad, man. Old school.
So you
now.
play Lyra lane and you face a Churmwalker in lane.
Well, no, when the enemy team are smarter than I am and the supports rotate
that
up.
doesn't take much, does it, Joel?
Funny guy, Scoundrel. Lucky you're good at casting. Now, they're going to be able to back off straight away. In fact, Visual Heim is going to be able to get a nice ordain. Hun Jaeger's not scheming to care all too much. Sustaining through that Serpent's Mask. Does have to use it into the fray to get out of the fray. Oh! The on point from Joseph. Sends the Batiste packing, and Heim going down. Could lead Cloud9 to take this turret. Yeah,
you saw when the Mortal Wounds actually applied to Hun Jaeger's, his sustain was kind of knocked out the park. He was sustaining a huge amount, then suddenly Old School locked onto him, and he wasn't able to do the same level of impact.
Oh, look at that damage. The red mist just chewing out Gabe Fizzle. Death and Rub comes down, but Hun Jaeger's overextending there in a 1v3 almost. And I Save Me didn't have the sigil and didn't have the Fountain available.
I think they were anticipating no Fountain on Cloud9. I think the only reason that you jump in is that you thought that there was no Fountain. No way that you're going to be able to beat an entire team with a Fountain still up and available. Hun Jaeger's maybe just incorrectly interpreting the way that the previous team fight went. So have a look towards item spikes now. Official Hein looks like he's going towards what I imagine is going to be a Clockwork. That's the pretty standard 1-2 build on a CP Batiste from the jungle. Hun Jaeger's working towards a breaking point. Again, standard breaking point. Serpent's Masking to breaking point is kind of the go-to for Rona. Looks like Old School will also be going towards a breaking point. I imagine that's going to help him keep his sustained damage up in these fights. Because remember, you have to kind of go blow for blow with Rona in sustained fights. Rona is built as a sustained fighting machine. So you need to use your advantage of your movement speed, but also get something from it. And that's what the breaking point provides this guy.
Well, they are going to be able to shove in. This is the first time we've really seen Hun Jaeger's face off against Old School, but it's more of a 3-on-3 than the 1-on-1 we'd normally see. And now Cloud9 taking priority in the jungle as well. Being able to push in first means they're able to rotate down very, very quickly. And in fact, that Crucible's been picked up by Gabe Fizzle as well. So that Fearsome Shade, if he does manage to block it, and we know Gabe Fizzle can, Heim is going to have one less tool in his arsenal.
Yeah, that's the only thing you need to block for Cloud9. There is literally no other ability that Elite 8 are going to bring to the table that you would need to block other than just the Fearsome Shade. And this is not going to be like Rox Armada. You're not going to see an Echo on Official Hein because you don't have a hyper carry. This is going to be a straight-up CP Batiste. So you're not going to see an Echo come out, therefore you're not going to need fancy extra reflex blocks or crucibles here and left, right, and center.
Cloud9 starting up as gold miner though is fairly low. Elite 8 do need to go for this engagement here. Anime Save Me does have the passageway in the Bright Bulwark. Could lead Hun Jaeger straight into the middle of Cloud9, but they're playing it fairly safe, and Cloud9 doing the same thing. Flaring each other out. Gabe Fizzle tries to fish for a hook, doesn't quite find one, but Hun Jaeger's picking up that infusion. But you know they want to fight Scoundrel, it's just when they pull the trigger. There's the Torment in. Death from above does come down to separate them. Trespass comes up, but the block is good. Gabe Fizzle trying to just finish off the gold miner, but it gets taken away by Elite 8. No one falling just yet into the fray, used to get on top of Isle of Joseph's going extremely low. Fountain as well is going to keep Elite 8 alive, and now Old School and Joseph are alone. They're going to 1v1 the Batiste, and Heim ends up falling down. Old School moving forward with the help of Gabe Fizzle is going to be able to isolate Hun Jaeger's, and that'll be 2 extra kills for Cloud9.
Up to 10 breaking point stacks for both of our breaking point carries in that last fight, but Old School's movement speed made him very difficult to lock down. Once you use those movement and gap closing abilities from Elite8 and Old School still isn't dead, he is going to dance around you like a monster. Let's take a look at this. That was just after the steal. Look at Old School here. Again, they close in on the gap. He manages to Suri strike away, and then they've got nothing left in the tank to lock him down. The body blocking from the Black Feather meant that Joseph, or Old School, could jump in. Those breaking point stacks building up, getting a huge amount of damage down. But like I said, into the fray needs to be on point. You need to either portal on top of Joseph and Old School and take him out straight away. Once you've used those gap closing and Old School still gets away, that's when you're in a tough position as Elite8.
Yeah, the portal used more of a defensive manner in that point in time. And Anime Save Me didn't really have much of an impact on the fight. Did use the Crucible, did obviously use the Fountain as well, but realistically, they just split up. Haim was left completely alone, and Anime Save Me was nowhere near him to actually heal him up.
Because we're still seeing a gold advantage over to Elite8 right now. They still have a minor gold advantage here. They've actually contested Cloud9 in the early game better than they previously had. Now, Cloud9 haven't really got a super early game composition here like they usually tend to run. You do have good scaling on the Weapon Power Sky. But I've got to give credit to Elite8 where credit is due. They've really turned around their approach to the game. They've definitely taken Cloud9 a little bit closer to the wire. Cloud9 is starting to look like they're regaining control. They still have the turret advantage, for instance. They're going to look to go into this Crystal Sentry again, but this is way, way closer than the previous game, and that's something that Elite8 should look to use as motivation to continue to try and push those advantages where they can. You have a Rona now with an Atlas Pauldrons, you've got your double item spike, you've got the double item spike on Batiste. This is the perfect moment to try and jump in, portal onto Old School, bright bulwark so he can't Suri strike and try and lock him down straight away.
Cloud9 have been on a steamroll. They've been on a mission to get their world spot since the start of the season with that small roster change, and now they are proving why they are one of North America's favorite teams. Trespass comes out, does get blocked, and Jaeger's backing off as well. Death and Rub did come down, and Hein taking a little bit of damage.
They keep jumping on here.
Oh, Torment. Hang on a second. Hein Jaeger's diving straight on the back line. Finds the damage onto Old School, but that Mortal Wound's cutting his healing in half. There's the Fearsome Shade. It does get blocked. Cloud9 perfectly doing that when they are going to be able to Torment back in as well. And that will be Rona already falling down, leaving out Anime Save Me. Not going to save him this time. Haim is going to have to retreat as well. Blew the Fearsome Shade. They might just go for the turret dive here as well. They've got a lot of damage. In fact, Old School's going to come in. Death from above does surround him. He's going to have to just hug that turret, but Old School is going to make quick work of him, and that's an ace for Cloud9.
It felt very fragmented from Elite8 there. One member wanted to jump in, one member wanted to back out, and then the portal came in right at the end. Portal should come in right at the start. That should be the first thing you do, to put pressure straight onto Old School. Let's take a look at it once more. Old School again, he's now just essentially kited back from Rona by himself. The block from Gabe was slightly late, but good enough to allow them to reset after the initial hit of the fear. And again, Batiste runs out, Lyra runs in. The communication doesn't feel like it's quite synced up for Elite8 here. And that's the kind of areas of team fights that a Sky is going to prey on. Sky loves discoordinated team fights. She loves to be able to just focus one target, kite backwards, focus another target. You need to be really, really focused and essentially all on board with taking on the Sky straight away if you want to take out a Weapon Power Sky easily.
Well, they've not managed to take it, but they've only managed to take him out once thus far. Old School as well was always seen ahead in lane, and he's proving that right now. However, Hein Jaeger's only 20 CS behind, but 2 kills behind and 2 extra deaths on his side of the field as well. He is starting to stack up, however. Atlas Pauldrons has been completed. He's got Breaking Point. He had that a few minutes ago. And that will allow him to just stack up in these fights if he can survive long enough. Old School prioritizing that Poison Shiv cuts his healing so much. And in fact, Anime Save Me is being saved by something as we jump into a quick pause.
Yeah, C9 knew. I think there's some sort of problem had occurred on the device there. Going to wait for Anime Save Me to get that sorted. But again, Cloud9 starting slowly finding their way back into this game. They definitely were punished early on, but all the team fights since that point have been a little bit more coordinated. I've got to give credit to Anime Save Me. His crucibles on the trespasses have been ridiculously good. But like I said, it just feels like it's a lack of execution on dealing with the main threat from C9. Yes, Blackfeather with an Aftershock and a Broken Myth is going to hurt, but as the fights go on, the Weapon Power Sky is only going to get more and more powerful. And Elite8 don't seem to have the idea about how to deal with it just yet. You know, if I were them, I'd be basically running in, like I said, portaling on top of the Sky, trying to blow her up with the Rona, trying to blow her up with the Batiste. You portal in, you ordained, you spin, you hit, and hopefully kill it. And if you don't, then you weren't going to kill her in the first place.
he's just so quick, so mobile. That Suri strike being used in order to actually get out of the red mist has been such perfection, in all honesty. And one thing we know about Cloud9 is how aggressive their early game is, but yet again we're seeing them just step off the pedal just a little bit in the mid portion of the game. We only saw one turret go down in the first 10 minutes, and it was a very slow, methodically played game from Cloud9. Yeah. This game is a lot closer, and we're seeing again Cloud9 taking a step back ever so slightly. They are winning these fights, but maybe they just need to pressure them a little bit more.
Cloud9 going to let Anime walk away. Good sportsmanship from those guys. Obviously, it wasn't his fault that he kind of got caught there, unable to move, and he's able to just reset. Here we go. Let's see Elite8 trying to defend their Crystal Sentry. A little bit more proactive than they have been in the previous game.
There's the portal, there's the passageway. Hunyega straight on top of 3 members. That's a 2-man chain coming out from Gabe Vizzle. Torment backwards, they're going to be able to push forwards. Trespass was used and actually blocked by Elite8. That Fearsome Shade is going to get blocked as well by Cloud9. They're going to drop Heim back in. Look at that damage. Joseph does manage to erase Heim, and that'll be Cloud9 taking the kill.
And the Sorrow Blade completed for Old School. This is the completed Sky build at this point in time. Sorrow Blade, Breaking Point, Poison Shiv, gives you huge amount of sustained damage in fights. You just dance around your opponents, kite them backwards. You get a slow on your forward barrage with weapon power as well, meaning that it's even easier if you can't use your basic attack, you feel threatened using your basic attack at that kind of range. You can just pop that forward barrage and kite backwards too. I feel like the time has now gone for Elite8. I feel like that they had an opportunity in the early game where they could have pushed that advantage and tried to punish the Sky. I feel like that's kind of over now. I feel like it would be very difficult to take a team fight away from Cloud9, especially if all the blocks are on point, especially if they're able to kite backwards and obviously use that Torment so effectively that they have been already. And it doesn't really feel like Elite8 are coordinating their dives easily enough at this point. It's something that we've touched on pretty much the entire game, but that was an attempted dive, but again, uncoordinated, unfocused, didn't really know where to spend their resources, didn't really know where to apply their damage, and that still, again, Old School went kind of unscathed.
Yeah, screams coordination from Cloud9, their ability to select one target, focus them down. More often than not right now, that is Heim. They know that Fearsome Shade is something to block, and as soon as that does come out, they can just jump on him, instantly kill him. He's only got a little bit of shielding on board, so defenses are at a minimum. Cloud9 now moving in. Elite8 might be a little bit caught out here if Gabe Vizzle can land a couple of chains. Torment in onto Anime Save Me, but a Sigil will speed him up to get out of there. And we're seeing Old School yet again being so far ahead of his enemy laner. And one thing you got to say about Hunyega is he's finding these targets, so maybe, like you mentioned, maybe it's just the shot calling aspect of their team right now that is just lacking ever so slightly. I don't think they even realize that Cloud9 are actually starting this Kraken, because they would be trying to contest it at this point. It's going down so quickly as well.
Yeah, I think they realize now, but it might be at a point at this time where it's just not going to be able to contest. No, they're going to back away. The Lyra Sigil was a last-ditch attempt. Something that I will point out that I think is interesting, given that you're facing a very mobile carry from C9. And we saw previously, when Ronas have been facing up against very mobile carries, a heavy prioritization on something like Journey Boots. Hunyegas is still on tier 1 boots, doesn't have the movement speed, so he's kind of going in on his Into the Fray. If he doesn't hit his Into the Fray and doesn't land in the position that he needs to get that damage onto Sky, he's then got a very limited burst of speed to allow him to maneuver across that. Journey Boots would allow him to be a bit more flexible, maybe to look to take more elongated fights and find a better opportunity to land onto Sky. Not going to get that opportunity with just a tier 1 set of boots.
I like this itemization choice here from Anime Save Me. That null wave to actually maybe block out that Crucible. However, they're going to have to use it pretty soon. Bright Bulwark's already been used to stop some of those minions to get a little bit of damage down. That Kraken now down to about 2/3 HP. Cloud9 moving in. There's the Trespass. Nice stun straight on to Hunyegas. Can't really find anything more, though. They're just trying to focus this Kraken right now. There's the portal. No passage. Well, there's the passageway, sorry. No Bright Bulwark just yet, but Hunyegas just churning them up. There's the fear. Cloud9. 3-man feared. Old School very, very low, but he gets pulled straight back in. Joseph and Gabe Vizzle are going to be able to find it, but they do manage to finally kill off Old School, the main carry of Cloud9 right now. They're going to trade 1-4-0 at the moment, but the Kraken's still marching on the base. They need to be able to deal with it, and Joseph now just prioritizing these turrets. He's going to be able to get the last one. Hunyegas has to find that kill. That Crystal's going to go down pretty quickly, especially with Gabe Vizzle and the Kraken going to be there as well. Cloud9, they might just be able to take it just here. Kraken's going to be able to do the last knock and ditch attempt. The Trespass finds the stun, and Cloud9 take the series 2-0.
Oh, what an end from Cloud9. Gabe Bizzle again, just monstrously protecting his carries, but also buying enough time for I Love Joseph to go in and finish the job. I think most people would say this was the expected outcome of the series. Cloud9 are probably one of the favorites going into the entire tournament. Cloud9 are probably one of the favorites to win the entire competition. They have performed like this all year long. They have not let up on this kind of level of execution. And a group like this, I fully expected them to go 4-0, and they have done.
Incredible showing from Cloud9. Obviously, they'll make it through to tomorrow. And what can really stop them? That's the big question. Their coordinated team play, their ability to play not only a very early aggressive jungle like a Koshka. We know Joseph's kind of famous for that. And more often than not, it feels like they don't ban the Koshka. We're just going to take it and then control your jungle from the early on. It's a real toss-up in all honesty.
Yeah, absolutely. That was an intense game. I think there was opportunities for Elite8 to try and punish Cloud9. I think the coordinated dive that needed to happen, because again, low priority on movement speed kind of given by the carries there, the coordinated just didn't happen. The coordinated dives just didn't happen. Old School was able to kite back too easily.
Well, Cloud9 go 4-0 on day number 1. We're going to jump onto the analyst desk where they can break down that 2-0 even further.
Thank you very much, guys. Yeah, we'll break that one down for you. Cloud9 are going to be able to be the first team to finish their group 4-0. A tremendous showing from the North American back-to-back unified champions. They're looking to repeat that championship title on a grander scale here by the looks of things. But phenomenal performance coming out from them. And that means the next series we have, everything is on the line right now between Elite8 and Pain Gaming. Cannot wait to get into that one, but let's break down this game a little bit first. Cloud9, they look like a well-oiled machine, Sweej.
Yeah, for sure. Elite8 did perform a little better. They got some kills, right? 3-0, looking pretty solid with their focus, their team fights, but Cloud9 just took it away again. Once they hit that mid-game power spike, Blackfeather hitting level 8, Old School finishing his Shiv and Breaking Point. The number of stacks and the way he was cutting and just sticking on the target allowed him to then carry into the game